So a lot of the times when projects don't work out, I see a lot of people just scrap those projects, and that's not us, guys. That's never been us, not on this channel. So we are gonna try again. I've sanded down a lot of the hydro dip after it completely cured. I knocked it down wherever I could. I had to remove some tape. I had to re-add some tape, and we are just going to see if we can't save this project. I'm really hoping that this is salvageable, and it's, I don't know, at least this first coat is going on and looking pretty decent. So we might just be able to pull this one back from the edge. Now, note when I say that, that's not me saying that like, oh, I save all of my projects. I've never had a failed project, but that is me saying that I'm always willing to try. I think that just leaving it there would have been a real waste and a real shame. Plus, like, I would have had to go in and crack another Stryfe entirely just because this is not a project that I'm willing to let go. Now, unfortunately, it is cold out here, so you can see because of that cold, we're getting like some crystallization here on the paint where it's kind of gumming up. So I'm gonna see if we can't touch that up a little bit. Now, like, stuff like this starts to get really dicey. Like, rescuing projects is just a monster pain. All right, well, we're gonna have one gray finger at the gym later, and we're definitely gonna have to come in and sand this a little bit. It's just not cleaning up how we want it to, but I don't know, I just think that it's important occasionally in my content, since these days it seems like the only way to make viable mod content is to time-lapse through all the complicated points. I want to point out that, like, I still think through my processes in person very much so the same way. So, like, my old style of content where it would be like segment, do something, talk about it, do something else on camera, segment, etc., so forth and so forth. Like, that's still how I mod. It's just not as popular a video format. So I made things more entertaining, but occasionally it is well worth slowing down and really showing you guys that nothing's perfect, and even expert level knowledge requires risk taking and tinkering from time to time. Man, this is a pain. It's going to be really hard to get this all smoothed out. But once that cures just a little bit, we can come in, add another layer, then probably sand a little bit, then another layer. And hopefully, by the time it's all said and done, we'll have a relatively clean gray that we can 2K over. I want to dust this just lightly, but I don't think that that's helping. So we're going to let that sit for a minute, and then we're going to come back and do the things that we said. Let's go.
Alrighty guys, so after some setbacks and failures, I have finally restored both sides of this to neutral, which is to say it's got the Fanger Red base and trim on both sides, and it has a full gray enamel build like on it. Now, again, like, sometimes projects fail, sometimes they're irrecuperable. Is that a word in English? I don't know. I sometimes try and stitch together words, and they're not actually, but I think the meaning is clear there. Anyway, this was a salvageable, and that is a word, paint job, and so after sanding it down and repainting it with the gray enamel, we did get something very nice. It is yet to be 2K'd, but I wanted to show you the shell, and then I wanted to explain why I went with this color scheme. So at End War last year, I picked up these parts from my friend Finn of Black Steel Props, and you can see that they're kind of a smoky color, and I think you should be able to tell that they're going to look really slick in this. Like, that is going to look very cool, very unique. It will completely eliminate the orange on the blaster, which will lend itself very nicely. Now, normally I do LED work whenever I use Ben's parts, but I thought that I would give myself a little break. It's a ton of work stitching together LED looms for Ben's parts, and while the results are very satisfying, I have multiple other blasters utilizing those parts, so I'm just going to save it and do this one just the parts. They look good enough on their own. The smoke is a very unique aesthetic. I think that it'll be cool in light and darkness. And I'm using one of my last pairs of End War 2017 logo containment crew cyclone wheels. So you can find those parts and Ben's parts in the description box below. But it's finally time to 2K this, throw some vinyl logos from my friend Avery on it, and like reverse the order of that. The logos go under the 2K, and then we can go ahead and start installing these parts and make something really special. I also am very excited to build kind of it into a rifle where there will be orange translucent barreling coming through into the Yang flash hider, which nobody has one of these, but it complements the smoke pretty nicely given the pseudo translucency of it. And then we'll just grab a standard worker stock and we'll make something that's a really, really cool Stryfe. I'm very excited about this build. Let's go!
What's up guys, it's Drac, and this is the Smokeout build, and I really just don't know what to call it. I need a much better name than that for it, but you can see the gray enamel with the addition of the metallic flake is nice. I really love the way that this red came out. It's a subtle touch, but it complements nicely this thumb screw. Then we've got the Drac battery door here available from Containment Crew. I love using these for Stryfes where you just don't modify the Stryfes well all that much. You don't have to make any huge major cuts. Now, again, the blaster is nameless, but it does have a full Drac logo, and then these are black steel parts from my friend Ben. So let's go ahead and load this up. It is firing Michel 2.0s inside, which means that it's going to need a graphene 2S. It's the only way to fly. Let's go ahead and tuck that in, lock that down. Here we go. There's the thumb screw. The smoke parts look really cool. I wanted to get the dichotomy between the kit in like broad daylight where they almost disappear, and I wanted to kind of come over and show you that in shadow they become much more obvious, like far less opaque. This piece up from my friend Yang is just really nice. Like, I'm really thrilled that he flattered me with a custom one-off build, and it's my absolute honor to finally have a blaster that I could put it on, but it required the addition of a full worker tube stock because you can't have a front end like this with this much additional barrel length and not add a stock to it. You really need to even everything out. So let's go ahead and fire at our blaster board's target, but this is what I like to call a Stryfe build, in that it's a Stryfe rifle, and I try to convince myself that I'm actually clever by making up words that are punny like that. But this is a Stryfe. That means that it's a full-length blaster, and it's rather nice. Like, the performance is decent. I thought this switch barrel drag would be bad, but since this actually opens up with a wider ID than even the worker barrel, it winds up not being that big a deal. Now, hates these hard tip darts. I've got to be careful about that, but that's what caused that little hiccup there. Are there any in here? I don't think so. I think that these are all Koosh and genuine elites. Definitely giving us plenty of power, as evidenced by sticking this dart in here. Let's fire for range a couple of times. And again, we keep getting these weird hiccup shots every once in a while, but those that did fire straight fired far and true, so I'm very happy with that performance. Let's go ahead and give this guy another shot at glory. Get it? Shot? Because it's a whatever. But that is this. Very happy with it. Absolutely love using these transparent parts. Really gives a unique aesthetic to blasters that they go on. Like, almost like, definitely still is a Stryfe, still looks like a Stryfe, but the smoke parts give it a completely different sort of feel. From a profile view. I'd love to backlight it and see what it would have looked like if I had integrated LEDs, but I have a few more translucent builds coming up. I really like working with these parts. I've got more coming from Black Steel Props and then some coming from a variety of other makers. If you're interested in any of the parts that went into this build, from the battery to the door to the etceteras, even the parts, check out my Sanguine Stryfe build. It's far more detailed than this and has a full parts list in the description box below. Thank you guys very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, and as always, much love. Nerf on, Drac out.